Hello and welcome to Point of View, where we share the stories of notable Pittsburghers from their point of view. Erica Mokay joined KDKA News in October of 2022. We'll talk about her career in television news, what it's like to be nominated for an Emmy, and advice that she has for aspiring journalists. This is POV. Thanks for streaming with us. I'm Devyn and Amigh. Joining us in the studio today is KDKA journalist Erica Mokay. Before joining CBS Pittsburgh in 2022, Erica covered local news in Ohio, Michigan, and West Virginia. She studied television journalism from West Virginia University and graduated from Bell Vernon Area High School. Erica, thanks for joining us.
Devyn, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Guys, I'm so excited that you're here. So we'll just jump right into the questions.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah,
absolutely. Alrighty, so my first question for you is, what exactly inspired you to pursue a career in television news?
Good question. And I kind of started with the same story every time. Whenever I was in middle school, and you'll hear this from a lot of journalists, they were doing the morning announcements,
Yep.
right? Everyone does that. And a teacher of mine said, you know what, Erica, you seem really natural, and I think maybe this should be something that you look into. And at the time she said, you remind me of Barbara Walters. You could be just like her. And I was like, oh yeah, you nod and say thanks. But in middle school, I was like, who's Barbara Walters? Went home and asked my mom. But of course, what a compliment it was. And she was right. And growing up, I always really liked to be in front of an audience and talking to people. So
Absolutely.
Knowing that I wasn't going to be any sort of singer or actress or anything on stage professionally, in that capacity, this really ended up being a really good fit for me.
Absolutely. Do you just remember in that moment exactly what it felt like? Was it this big moment for you, or did that come later?
The moment of the aha moment that this is for me, it came later. And it was really whenever I was in high school, and I really had to start to think about, okay, what is the future? What should I do next? And that's whenever I really drew on that advice from that teacher and what I love to do, which was to be in front of an audience and in some way, shape, or form, entertain people. So that's how I got into journalism. That's how it caught my interest. I always grew up watching TV news. Whenever I was in high school, I did a shadowing experience at TAE. I shadowed Kelly Fry one morning. I don't know if you remember her. She was a longtime morning anchor here. And so that really opened my eyes to the business and kept pursuing it. And then once I was in school, that's when I really fell in love with storytelling.
Absolutely.
And putting those stories together, bringing them to life.
And how do you go about putting together these stories? I mean, you have been nominated for Emmys. And I know recently KDKA had received an Emmy as a part of your breaking news story for East Palestine train derailment.
Yeah.
How do you approach sharing stories that make such an impact like that?
Well, I think it comes down to really being present in the interview and listening to the person that you're interviewing and really feeling their story. And then it's taking that and bringing it to life, whether it's through, the video that you're choosing or writing to the natural sound and making sure really you're making the audience at home feel that person's story and understand it through ways more than just the words that that person is saying. So that's really kind of my approach, is to make it as human as possible and as engaging as possible. So yeah, and just remembering, that we're all kind of real people, right? And we all have a story to tell. So how would I want my story to be told? And trying to do good by those people who allow me to interview them. As far as the breaking news Emmy, honestly, it was totally unexpected. So I was filling in that morning whenever we had the breaking news. Yeah. And we just we went with it. Thankfully, I've had a lot of experience getting to this point. As you mentioned, I was in Ohio, West Virginia for 5 years. And then after that, I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan for 6. And in all of those stations, I've really had a great opportunity to learn from some really incredible professionals. And I had the opportunity in those cities to learn on the job, work out any of those kinks and mistakes so that I could come back here to Pittsburgh and really put my best foot forward and perform and deliver news the way that the people of Pittsburgh deserve. And I guess that showed that morning. But, it's also really hard to be winning such an award and being congratulated for an award for a situation and a story that was so tragic for so many people in that area, and they're still dealing with that. So that makes it a little bittersweet. But I'm glad that we were able to bring that information to our audience as we got it, and we were able to keep them informed of what was going on, to keep as many people as possible safe.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned getting to work with all these wonderful people. As somebody who is well experienced in this industry and have been meeting people and just going through and talking to all kinds of people that maybe you never even imagined you would have been speaking to, was there any advice that you've ever been given that maybe you wanted to pass along?
The best advice that I was given, and it was very early on, and it was from Jim Mokay, actually, who was doing traffic at KDKA whenever I was interning. And we, in fact, met because we have kind of a similar last name. He was Lokay, I'm Mokay. Let's call the whole thing off, right? So I was interning under him, and I would always ask him, okay, what's your recommendation? What do I need to do to get to this point and be where you are? And he said, Erica, focus on your writing first. If you focus on your writing, and if you're a good writer, the rest of the stuff will come. You can polish the on-air thing, you can get better with your delivery, but if you have the basics, that's what you need to succeed. Absolutely. And I listened.
It's wonderful. Tell me about a time that you had faced a difficult challenge in your career, and how'd you learn from it?
Oh gosh, well, I think every day is hard, and every day we're delivering hard stories and reporting on hard stories. So I think it's just overall remembering that we are people reporting on other people. And usually we're reporting on people who are dealing with tragedy or are dealing with maybe the worst day of their life, right? So remembering to be human, remembering to listen to them and to really understand what they're going through, while also, being fair at the same time, depending on what kind of topic that you're covering. One thing that I've really learned is social media has made this job a lot harder, right? So people can give you that instant feedback, whether they like you or they don't, whether they like the way that you look or they don't. So I think really through that process, it's taught me to remember what's important about myself. And I know that at the end of the day, I'm a good person with good intentions. And I can change a blouse. I can change my hair. I can change my makeup. I can change my lipstick color. But at the core, I know that I'm good. And that's what's important. And getting those sometimes hateful emails and tweets and what have you, that has helped me to really realize that and hone in on that and make sure that I'm reminding myself of that.
That's really beautiful. Like, especially as women in this industry and just women on social media in general, like the critique is crazy.
And, a lot of times it comes from other women. And another piece of advice that I was given from a mentor, because I would be getting these hateful messages, right? And it would really affect me and I would be really, really down about it. And he said to me, Erica, the viewer is the customer, right? We're serving the customer. And you need to look at those emails or those critiques critically. Take the constructive criticism. If it's something that you can apply, if they have a point, recognize that and potentially make that change or apply it to your delivery, to your storytelling, what have you. But the rest of the stuff about, oh, Erica's hair looks terrible. Oh, Lady Gaga called Erica, she wants her eyelashes back. Just ignore it.
Oh my goodness.
And I think those things also, they just make you stronger in the end.
Absolutely.
And I always say, because I got a lot of those whenever I was first starting out, they made me better because I always knew that I had to really straighten up and fly right and put my best foot forward. Yeah. And I also told myself that, I'm getting these hateful messages and mean comments early on so that I'm prepared and ready for the big leaks when even more critical eyes are watching, right? And I can handle it and I can understand what I need to listen to and what I need to block out.
Absolutely. So you mentioned things that you always say, and I wanted to bring that up. So when we got in contact, I'm going to be honest, I did a bit of a deep dive looking into you, and interviews that I've seen with you before, you
Mhm.
always say something along the lines of "go where life takes you,"
Mhm.
and that stuck out to me in such a crazy way. So, a quote like that, "go where life takes you," it's so true for an industry like this.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
where exactly has your career led you? What have you gained from not picking and choosing where you end up?
So it's really my mom who has always said to me, you have to go where life leads you. And whenever I was looking to leave my station in Steubenville, I didn't know where I was going to go next. I knew that I eventually wanted to come back to Pittsburgh, but I also knew that in order to be in Pittsburgh and to do what I wanted to do in Pittsburgh, I needed to be good because the people that I grew up watching here in Pittsburgh are good and they have been here forever. And people want to see people on TV who know what they're talking about, who are polished, and who they can trust, and they deserve that. So whenever I heard about the job in Kalamazoo, honey, I didn't know anything about Kalamazoo, never really heard of it before, and I never even considered living in Michigan, moving to Michigan, but I went with my mother's advice and the advice that I always share, and I kind of just went where life led, and it took me there, and which ultimately brought me back home. So just, I think it's, especially in this industry, but in life in general, just be open to the opportunities that come your way and don't poo-poo something just because you never thought it would happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Has working in this industry changed your perspective on the world at all, whether it has something to do with that or just telling these stories, whether they're good or bad or both?
I think just in the evolution of my career and moving around and talking to different people and having the privilege of doing such different stories, it's just given me more perspective on the world. And, it opened my eyes just to more opinions and more views. And I feel really lucky to have had that opportunity. I grew up in a small town, Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania, not far from here. And people can be a little like-minded, you grow up with those people, you learn the same things, and eventually, you kind of start having the same opinions. So being able to really broaden my horizons and talk to other people and to really understand other people has been really great. And it's really given me a different perspective on the world.
What about like your greatest experiences that have come out of being a part of this industry? There's so many wonderful things that you've done. What's the most prominent one for you?
Oh gosh. I don't know if there's one in particular.
Okay.
But putting, every situation that I've been put in or that I have been presented, I do my best to make the most out of it so I can learn a lesson from it later. I might not know it in that moment, or I might not understand what the takeaway is going to be, but being in those situations and doing this job has allowed me to have that perspective and be able to really reflect and take away and be like, okay, this wasn't so great in the moment, but I was there, I was in it. What was the lesson here? And I think that has just overall made me stronger, whether it's as a journalist, as an anchor, as a storyteller.
Moving forward, what are your hopes?
To continue going where life leads me.
Yeah.
And I hope that means, I'm here for a long time. This is where I've always wanted to be. But you never know. You never know what's going to come your way. I never knew that I would be in Kalamazoo for 6 years. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope it's going to be here for a longer period of time because I'm really tired of moving. But we'll see. I'm hoping for the best, but expecting anything.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts before we move on to looking at some pictures?
I don't think so. I think just the biggest advice and the biggest takeaways and the biggest things that I hope that aspiring journalists especially remember is to go where life leads you, to focus on your writing, be a good writer, and to put the hard work in now because it's going to pay off later, and continue to just repeat that to yourself every step of the way.
I know go where life leads you. I'm going to be taking that with me because, like I said, when I saw that, it really, really stuck out to me because that's something that my parents say too.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just really felt the need to bring that up because I think that is just such a prominent thing, especially for an industry like this.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I think that there's a bigger plan, right? We may not be aware of it. We may not like it at the time, but something is in the works. The universe has something planned for us, and I think we just need to trust it and follow it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
So we're going to move on to our photo of
Oh,
the
boy.
speed round.
Oh,
Are you
boy.
ready?
Yeah.
We've scoured the internet and our guest social media pages for pictures that need more context from their point of view. Are you ready, Erica?
Oh boy, Devyn, let's go. Let's see 'em.
Alrighty.
What'd you dig
So
up?
photo number 1 we have dubbed I Spy Through My Donut Eye.
So this is a picture from my market whenever I was working mornings in Kalamazoo. I'm a sweets lover. I don't
Me
remember
too.
exactly what that was. Probably like a donut day or something like that. Plus, whenever you're working the morning shift, I don't know if you've ever worked the crazy hours of a morning shift before, but like your appetite is all over the place. Like I remember we'd be having donuts at 1 minute and then I feel like I would be hungry for like a hot dog an hour later. It's just
Sounds
wild.
just like me.
It's wild what your body will do to you when you're working crazy hours. But I learned a lot from the guys that are in that picture, Kirk Mason and Jeff Porter. They taught me a lot, and they always had the bar raised really high for me, and I always wanted to meet their expectations.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that they had the bar where they had it, because I think they really helped me to grow as an anchor and to really get polished while also kind of allowing my personality to come out on TV.
Besides being like super hungry, what were those early morning shifts like? Like when did the alarm go off in the morning?
So get ready. Right now, so I'm doing mornings right now.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm filling in for the early morning show, my first alarm goes off at 12:50. I heard
I'm not even in bed yet.
12:50. When I'm working the early morning,
my
I have to get
goodness.
out of bed by like 1:10, 1:15. When I'm doing the current shift that I'm doing now, I have to get out of bed by like 2:15.
Oh my
2:10,
goodness.
2:15.
I'm not even in bed until 2 in the morning. I
It's-
couldn't even imagine.
A complete body clock life
Yeah.
flip. It takes a lot of getting used to. A
So
lot.
definitely a lot of donuts and a lot of coffee then.
Yeah, and a couple hot dogs
A couple
too.
hot dogs too, apparently. Alrighty, so we're gonna move on to photo number 2 here. We
Oh.
called this one Drink Secured, speaking of coffee.
Yeah, this one also was from Kalamazoo whenever I was working the crazy morning hours. Have you ever had the Chick-fil-A vanilla iced coffee?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
I've had the frosted coffee, and that's really good.
Okay, well, the Chick-fil-A vanilla iced coffee was like my lifeblood whenever I was in Kalamazoo. Like, I needed it to function half the time. And I wouldn't just get the one, I would get 2 and drink them
Understandable.
between the morning show and the noon show so that I could like
Function.
function and read a teleprompter.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that was why I was kissing that drink. Also try the drink. 'cause
We'll
it's so
do.
good.
I'm gonna put that on my list
All
of
right,
things to go and do.
Good.
I love Chick-fil-A, so
Same.
sounds good. Coffee. We'll move on. Number 3. This
Oh.
one is like mother, like daughter. I love this photo. This is so cute.
But seriously, have you ever like seen on social media or whatever on the internet like that people start to look like their pets?
My cat and I look alike.
I look like
you
my
look
dog.
just like your dog.
Right? It's the expression, it's the hair. Like, I'm embarrassed to admit it, but that's what that is,
That's
right?
really what I thought when I pulled up the picture, and then I read your caption about looking alike, and I was like, this is the one.
But that's my girl Lila. She's my baby. I love her so much. She's a little more than a year old, and she's
Have you had her
everything.
since she was like little?
Teensy tiny.
Oh, I know, that's so cute. We don't deserve dogs.
I
They're too
know,
good for
I
this
know.
world. Alrighty. So our next photo is, this one is Miss Americana.
Oh, okay. So this
the contest.
picture was, I took a trip to Montana,
Mhm.
and this may come as a shock looking at me, but I'm not a real outdoorsy girl.
Okay.
I know, right? You could never tell. But, you know, it was kind of getting out of my comfort zone and going to a place that I really never expected to go before, and just really fell in love with how beautiful it is. The landscape is just stunning. It really is breathtaking, and just enjoying it and taking it all in and going on hikes and going fly fishing and all that kind of fun stuff. Because again, not something I normally do.
Yeah.
It also really introduced me to still photography, and I got really into it during that trip. So
Absolutely. It's beautiful. The
Yeah.
waffles in that picture look really good too.
bomb. They
We're
were
talking about food so much, it's
bomb
making me
diggity.
hungry.
My stomach is growling. I don't know if you can hear it.
Alrighty, so our last photo that we have is Hello Valley.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is my first market that I was in, which was Steubenville, Ohio. It also covered Wheeling, West Virginia, and kind of that area. And they would broadcast this large country music festival, Jamboree in the Hills. Yes. It was the first and the longest running country music festival at the time. And it was my favorite thing about working in Steubenville. And those masks, that was a group that was playing there. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. Anyways, but the guy actually sitting beside me in that picture, you can't tell because of the mask, but that's Rich Pierce, who is now working at WPXI. Oh my gosh. Yep.
That's amazing.
And we are still good friends to this day. And in fact, when I was in Steubenville, we were looking for another anchor, and I'd met Rich during my internship at KDKA, and I always thought that he was really good. And he did this live shot while he was still in college, and it was live on, I think it was on CNN, and it was like just effortless for him, and he was absolutely incredible. So I took that video and showed it to my news directors in Steubenville, and they were like, we gotta have him. So that's another piece of advice. Don't burn any bridges. Be friends with everyone, because you never know, who's going to be rooting for you, who's going to be putting your name in front of the right people. And he's a talent. I adore Rich. Adore him.
Small world.
It really is. And this business is very, very small.
Absolutely. I had another question for you, but
you lost it.
Blanked. I lost it. So do you have anything else you'd like to put out there?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much
to do
for
this.
the opportunity.
I have enjoyed chatting with you.
This has been so wonderful.
And if there's anything that you ever need, I'll never hesitate to reach out. And anyone, mentors are so important in this business, whether it's in TV journalism, print, whatever. Keep in touch with those mentors. Create the relationship with the mentors, because they really are going to help to get you through, the times when you're getting those hate-filled emails, or helping to give you some direction whenever you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's next and what's the best opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Erica.
My pleasure.
Yeah. You guys can get your news from Erica weekday mornings on KDK TV News. Thank you for streaming with us. Our show is produced here at the Center for Media Innovation with thanks to our partners from UView Television and the Point Park News Service. I'm Devyn Amigh, and we hope to see you next time on POV.